did.
Oh, that's, we've got a general Board of Education calendar we've shared out as well. And that just has for the website for the public to see it. All right, we're live.
Okay, welcome to the Oberlin School District Board of Education meeting for February 23rd, 2021. Call the roll.
Ms. Emeka,
Here.
Ms. Sham,
Here.
Ms. Jackson Davidson,
Here.
Williams.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve the excuse me? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right.
We might want to point out that when we get to the end of the meeting, like we typically have two kinds of executive sessions. One, the standard one is we don't take any action afterwards, but this time there is going to be action, and it's just going to be voting on the item that you see that's actually on the agenda. So I don't know how long people like to hang out and look at the blank screen saying the board will return shortly. But that's all we'll do.
All right, any further discussion? Call the roll.
Ms. Emeka,
Yes.
Ms. Sham,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. All right. Citizens' concerns on agenda items.
I have a couple of concerns and comments that were submitted, and I'll read them in alphabetical order. First one is by Mr. Craig Brandt. Thank you for reading the following statement in its entirety. It's been my hope that we, like many neighboring districts, would return a full 5-day schedule for the remainder of the school year. Our nation's leaders, including President Biden, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and Dr. Rochelle Walensky, have all expressed the urgent need to reopen schools. Teachers will soon be getting the vaccinations, and at the point they do, should have no reason to fear returning to the classrooms. Based on both Pfizer and Moderna's data, the COVID vaccines are nearly 100% effective. CDC statistics clearly show that children are minimal risk for complications from COVID. Although I remain astonished support of the district, I would be remiss not to consider the potential that the hybrid model will continue well into next school year. To hedge against this possibility, I'd like to know what makes our district different from those who've chosen to reopen fully. To be clear, I have and always will be an advocate for choice. I believe parents should have the ability to select the instructional model best suited to their situation. Moving forward, I trust the district will consider what's best for every member of the community. This is from Alex Cyrus, CYRUS. We need a lot more information about questionnaire number 4 that went out to the public. I opt to keep my first grader remote only for her to be shoved into a class mixed with first graders and kindergartners. Can you please explain exactly what each model will look like if you choose to stay remote? Are we locked into remote? When is the last day for us to decide? A lot of those questions were sent out, and I do have a slideshow on the hybrid, and that may answer some of those questions for Mrs. Cyrus. Ms. Joanne Stiegel. I'm concerned about starting the fourth quarter with more changes and no input from parents. Parents who have chose to keep students from home to keep teachers and staff safe. We're told that children would receive equal opportunities, educational opportunities. That has not been the case. Many students feel disconnected, and for asynchronous days instead of 2 would be disastrous. Teachers are doing an amazing job, but they need more help. And children should get the same opportunities to no matter who their teacher is. Due to the days off, hybrid days, and snow days, one of my children has a teacher who hasn't seen for 2 weeks. Another has a teacher that has been out sick for 3 weeks, so she has been sent to another class for the period. To top it off, communication has been terrible during the pandemic, even worse than usual. The poor communications person who was hired to help, but she can't communicate if she doesn't have any information. Call the principal at your student's school should not be the first line of communication. Without kids going to school, communication is even more important. We all know there are no good answers, but the answers need to be fair. I'll try to strengthen more communication in those areas there for the parents. And like I said, a slideshow may offer some more information, but we're still waiting on numbers to come in to finalize plans, which after numbers come in, then we'll be able to make a solid plan. It's not too late to change from hybrid to remote or remote to hybrid. The last comment was Drew Wilburn, Wilburn. We're writing to you as concerned parents of a 6th grader and 3rd grader who are both enrolled as remote asynchronous students this quarter. We are very disappointed to read the most recent email and survey from the school administration about the 4th quarter, because it seems that no opportunity is being provided for feedback on the current quarter from parents, and very little information has been provided to describe what the 4th quarter will look like to families who wish to remain remote. The recent series of FAQs does help to clarify what is in-person learning will look like and how survey results could alter the plans for in-person learning, but still does little to address the shape of remote learning. In short, we have been very disappointed with our children's remote learning during the hybrid quarter. Prior to this, during the fully remote period, we were quite happy overall. There now seems to be a sharp inequity between the quantity and quality of education that remote and hybrid students are receiving. Our daughter receives 2.5 days of Zoom instruction with approximately 2 hours of Zoom instruction on Wednesday and Thursday for specials. This past week, for a 4-day weekend and a snow day, she has not been in class with her homeroom teacher, receiving instruction in critical areas, math, reading, inquiry for 8 days. On remote days, it feels as if we must constantly be present in order to ensure that our children do their work. They're unmotivated and feel cheated by their experience compared to that of the in-person kids. We are fortunate that we can make time to support our children's learning from home, but it has taken a toll on our mental health, our relationship to our children, and ability to maintain our job performance in a dual career family. I can imagine how these less privileged than we are managing. We have questions and ideas to share. It is unclear why remote learning cannot happen in tandem with in-person instruction. While not ideal, it is quite possible to teach both in-person and remote students by having a teacher project their Zoom screen, while they are screen sharing a PowerPoint presentation video or other applications. All students then see the same PowerPoint, for example, either through Zoom or projected in the room. Alternatively, why can't we be some in-person teachers and other remote teachers in grades K-5? Finally, if the remote work remains primarily asynchronous, and we would prefer for families to decide when our families will wake up, begin work, and turn in work. Why not have things due by the end of the day or week? Parents' free time for helping their kids is unlikely to line up with the school's day schedule, so leaving families more freedom would decrease our stress and likely improve the students' work. In summary, we would ask that you please set up a mechanism for parents to provide feedback about the last quarter. We, like many other parents, were caught off guard and deeply disappointed when this quarter learning model was changed post-survey from 1 day to 2 days in person. We understand that safety going back to school is the end goal for our entire community, but the different members of our community perceive safety and risk differently. As we try to make decisions about going back to school in light of the new virus variants and the progress of immunization, we would ask for further details about students who will be e-learning full-time. Thank you for all your work on this. And that concludes the comments.
Okay, news of note.
Superintendent extended hybrid model. I'd like to review that with the board and also the community as well. The district sent out an extended hybrid model tentative schedule first. Once we started thinking about going back after, once we started receiving information that we will receive the vaccine. The hybrid model extended survey gave a timeline as well. The timeline that we provided for the community during the question and answer period provided information about when the survey would go out, principals or when the principals start reviewing the information, when the district will receive the first vaccination, when they receive the second vaccination, and according to the timeline, also about transportation. So we try to provide our community with enough information about what was coming ahead before April the 6th. The tentative date is April the 6th for our students to return back 4 days a week. However, all this is contingent upon the vaccine, availability, safety plan for the district, and the Lorain County Health Department information as well. And we also depend on the numbers we have. Yes.
You have on this timetable that the second vaccine dose is on March 19th. In a message you sent out today, it got changed to March 26th.
Yes, that was updated because of the Moderna vaccine. You're right.
So we switched from Pfizer to Moderna. And so what is the timeline for after the second vaccine with Moderna that yours is it 2 weeks still that
Should be a
they're
10
not considered? Is it 10?
should be a 10-day period. And when we're with the 26th of March 26th, that should be within that window time period. However, March 26th will be over spring break. So we're still working out March the 26th as well. Will that be the day far as with the health department? We know we're running into spring break with a couple other school districts, so we have to confirm that as well. Then the other option would be for Easter, before Easter break, which is not a good time either. But however, getting the vaccine is important. We have, majority of our staff has stated that they will be able to get vaccinated on 26th, if that's available. We have had a few that said they won't be able to available until they return back from after spring break. Currently now we have principals, the data is coming in from the surveys. We're going over the survey data, which preliminary data we're cleaning up now. We have had some parents duplicate the survey, so we're taking out all that data as well from duplicate students. So we're working on those. And then we're looking at class size. So it takes a little time for us to exactly finalize all the plans that we have. A lot of it's based upon numbers as well. Looking at our numbers, we have about between 70 to 75% of our parents that want to return back to on-site instruction. This is a tentative plan. Our teachers are currently still working on a plan for e-learning and on-site instruction. This is a tentative plan that we provided for our community about e-learning and on-site instruction. We're looking at Tuesday through Friday, students attending on-site 4 days a week. When they're attending on-site, some teachers working out with some of the teachers, some of them will have the opportunity to Zoom into the classrooms. And of course, at K2, they have individual teacher assigned to e-learning opportunities. And that teacher will continue with e-learning opportunities.
David, can you clarify on the question that was submitted? So she said that, or I think it was she, because I'm not sure of the pronoun. The person said that their student who remained e-learning was combined with a kindergarten, first grade blend classroom.
Yes, and K2, what happens, we have a teacher designated for that as well. So we spoke with the teacher and offered different scenarios, different varieties. It's called either a K1 split, or that teacher an opportunity to say, well, I can do kindergarten in the morning and first grade maybe at an afternoon time, dividing the schedules up. So by working with the teacher and an instructional person in that classroom, they said, well, you know what, they're probably better if I combine them both together and place them in there, and the standards and sort of similar. So they chose to do a K1 split for the students. And then the teacher at the second grade level is an individual teacher for that. So K2 assigned a teacher for remote learning specifically.
Okay.
And it says 2 teachers made a decision in January to maintain instruction both in person and e-learning students scheduled at the same time. But that's not all of our students engaged in e-learning, because some of our students at Eastwood Elementary and some of our teachers said they want their kids to Zoom in. So they are not having their students go to the teacher. So sorry, go to the remote teacher. So some of them are making that choice of saying, I prefer my kids to Zoom in with them. So a lot of it was different instruction, different teachers how feel well they felt comfortable with kids zooming into the classroom. Eastwood is currently at about 70% of their students in school currently right now. With the new preliminary data that we have, they should be close to about 83% of their students if they arrive coming back to school. Now, grades 3, yes.
I just want to make sure that I understand, based on what you just said, it sounds like there are a number of different models happening, and that teams of teachers are working together to try to deliver education in the way that they feel like they can meet the needs of their students best. So different students are having different experiences.
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
We left a lot of conversation up to them and determined that we do not dictate we want this model or that model, but we kind of lay parameters down for them to make it equal for the students, to try to make it as equal as possible for the students. Grades 3, 5, at the end, if all our students return back as the data shows, we should have about 70 to 75% of the students at Prospect Elementary on site returning April the 6th, if that occurs. E-learning model here, we have live instruction 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday. We are not sure if the teachers will remain their current homeroom teacher. Monday morning will most likely be a live instruction piece for them. We're still working out the details for the e-learning piece based upon the numbers we have. And once we get the numbers in, we'll have a better idea of how that instruction is going to be delivered and more details on this is what exactly your day will look like for those students returning and also e-learning. The goal is we'll have some form of your core areas we'll have in K through 12, Tuesday through Friday, face-to-face instruction with a teacher. How we're going to deliver that may be different. We have a lot of teachers will have students zoom into the classroom. So right now, some of the teachers are working with different ideas on how to deliver this instructional piece. That would include the e-learning piece. On Mondays, how that would look, all the students will have some kind of interaction with their teacher face-to-face on Mondays. Currently on the 26th, when we have our vaccination, a lot of our teachers will get together with their administrative staff to work on finalize some of the plans. In grades 6 through 8.
David, I'm sorry, before you go to Langston, I need you to repeat the sentence you just said, that on Mondays, they'll have face-to-face time. I thought Mondays were remote.
I'm sorry, Mondays are remote, but we will have
Okay.
teachers zooming. Will have students zooming in. All the students will zoom into some kind of contact with the teachers on Mondays.
Okay, So it's electronic contact. but
electronic
it's-
face-to-face, not on
Thank
site. They will not be on site on
Okay,
Mondays.
thank you. Thank you.
But they will have some kind of interaction with the teacher on Monday. Now, that'll happen in the morning time, afternoon time, small group instruction, things like that will go on afternoon with teachers and allow teachers more time to plan for lessons. Okay. So basically, we're looking at, students will have teacher contact Monday through Friday. And it should be some kind of face-to-face teacher contact with the students. Now, at the middle school, they will have as well the e-learning on site. All of them are pretty similar, 5 days a week or 4 days. They'll on-site instruction will happen on Tuesday through Friday. Students will have on-site face-to-face instruction 4 days in all content areas, ELA, math, science, and social studies. Special areas, Spanish, art, PE, and music. On Monday, students will have remote face-to-face instruction in ELA, math, science, social studies, and music. Asynchronous students in Spanish, art, and PE. E-learning students will have face-to-face instruction in ELA, science, social studies, and music 5 days a week. Monday through Friday, Spanish, art, and PE. Virtual students will have remote face-to-face instruction on Mondays and asynchronous learning Tuesdays through Friday. So there will be face-to-face instruction and K through 8 for e-learning and also for on-site students. Oberlin High School is a little different. They will have kids remote in and also some classrooms, and it's a little different at the high school. It's a little more complicated because you have the different courses, you have electives, you have kids moving around a little more. But the plan is for them Tuesday through Friday, students are on site, will attend school in a typical fashion following their bell schedule. Monday will consist of intervention and asynchronous lessons for all Oberlin High School students. E-learning students will continue to attend all of their classes with various degrees of live instruction Tuesday through Friday. In almost all classes, a e-learning student will be able to, at a minimum, listen to the live instruction, view the same instructional aids and materials, get a visual on the teacher for a majority of the class period. Monday would consist of interventions, asynchronous lessons for all Oberlin High School students.
Can I just see if I say that differently, if it still makes sense? So for the e-learning kids, in effect, the teacher has their Zoom session running with their camera on them during class, and that's what the e-learning kids are seeing Tuesday through Friday?
Yes, majority of teachers at the high school and most of the schools. At the high school, yes, some of them have swivels where they move around a classroom. Some of them are utilizing those. Some of them are utilizing audio equipment. Some of them are utilizing speakers. It very depends on the comfortability of the teacher. So that's the goal, to have all that's going on Tuesday through Friday as well. Monday is more of a day where interventions will happen. They will have some kind of contact with the kids, but that'll be all on-site and e-learning students both. And none of them are coming on site, but they have some contact with the teachers for maybe catch-up work, maybe projects, maybe things like that. They can check in during that time period for Mondays. When we met with the teachers union and we discussed the plan and going back on the 6th, they expressed some, it's difficult doing the Zoom and both at the same time. And they stated that, hey, we need time to plan for this. We need time to get ready for it. We need time to make this effective. We need additional time to make this successful. And pretty much they said, and we said, okay, we understand. We hear you.
I was just curious if when a teacher is presenting to a room and they have a camera, however it's set up, on them for the kids who are e-learning, is there an ability to have another adult in that Zoom meeting to help manage the space?
Yes.
I don't know how much of a problem it is, but
You're right, Ann. What we have offered was additional teacher support, parapro support in the classroom and also with the students at the same time as well. So we've had to offer additional help for some of the teachers as well too. If whatever the teachers needed and requested, we try to provide as much support as possible, but it is difficult for them to do that.
Trying to manage an environment both in person and online, I think would be particularly challenging.
It is, and for a long period of time, I had actually had to see it being done from home. Wife's teacher, so, and it's and also in the classroom, she's doing it currently right now with both of them going on. It takes it's challenging, but it's swivel, and I think some of the teachers currently right now are doing a great job managing it, better than others. But it's phenomenal. We have a lot of teachers that said, that said they would never do it, and right now we have majority of our teachers saying, "Oh, you know what? I'll try it. I'll see if it works." I know maybe I'll have an aide in the classroom to help me to get started off. Maybe that's the way I'll try it for a little bit. Then after that, I'll try to do it on my own. So we've been kind of encouraging them to take their own pace, and we'll help you with the process. But a lot of teachers have been doing it since for the last couple of months, and they've been okay with doing it and got more comfortable with it.
Dr. Hall, when you reference swivel, are you referring to the cameras that kind of follow the teachers around the classroom while they teach? And if so, about how many of our teachers or what percentage have those type of cameras?
I believe we purchased about 15 or 10 to 15 of them at the elementary level. Before we actually purchased them, we borrowed some from the ESC first to try them out. So we do have, I don't know, Steve would know, we may have about maybe 20 or 30 or so on site if they want to use them. So we usually at the teachers, we were at first when this whole pandemic happened, we're buying swivels for every classroom, every teacher, every room. And so we said, well, wait a minute now, let's try them out first, let's see who's comfortable with them. We heard mixed messages about them from different teachers. We went to different schools, and some of them said, that's not the best idea. That's not something I want to use. But they're there for them, available to them if they want. And Ms. Mecca, we've always offered too, if you want more, we'll buy more for you. Whatever you got, whatever the teachers need to make them feel comfortable in the classroom. What we didn't want to do at first, we was going to buy 100 of them, and we thought they're not cheap either. So we said we'll wait until the teachers. If you want one, we'll sign up for one. We also purchased speakers too as well for all the classrooms. So while they're zooming into the classrooms, kids can hear everything around the room, and also they can pick up on the teachers around the room instead of just through the computer. So we went on, we did that as well. So at first we purchased speakers. Oh, great idea, wonderful. And some teachers like them, some don't. Some are using them, some are not. So we really kind of cater to a teacher of, hey, what do you feel comfortable with? Model some lessons for them, and whatever they needed, we provided for them.
Okay. And that swivel camera is the one that follows them around the classroom.
Absolutely. It's the one that follows them around. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
The current enrollment comparative here is Eastwood Elementary. We have over 180 students at Eastwood. We have about 132 on site. That's about 70% of the students returned currently now without the data without the current data that we have. But this is what we have now. The questionnaire we just sent out, I'll go into that here in a minute. So Prospect have about 55% return. Their students return, student body. Langston have about 54% of their student body return. High school is a little different. We have 31% that return so far. And to make sure our data is accurate, what we usually do is after the survey, what we're currently doing now is calling the parents, confirming their choices, confirming what they would like to do, whether they want to stay remote or go hybrid. The student hybrid survey data that came back so far tells us that we have about 9 hybrid to e-learning preliminary return data. So we have a total of about over 100 students that said they wanted to leave e-learning and come back to hybrid. So we have 9 from Eastwood, 33 from Prospect, 36 from Langston, and 37 from the high school. So, and we only had about 8 students that wanted to leave hybrid to go to e-learning. So more of our students want to return back to school. Based on the numbers, the district could have about 70-75% of our students return, except for at the Eastwood Elementary, where we probably have about 80-83% of the students going to return back. To clean up the data now, what we have to do is phone calls home to confirm choices, utilize the data to finalize plans. So once we get all the data in, we'll finalize a plan and provide the parents with more information of what is the e-learning going to look like, what their schedule going to look like. We're not changing times. We're not changing bus schedules. We're not doing any of that. We're right now going to try to keep everything as regular as possible when it turns over April the 6th. Parents have until March the 5th to finalize plans. They can call now and say, hey, you know what, I don't want to go hybrid. I want to go back to e-learning. That's fine. We'll take you off the list and move you from one point to another. Throughout the school year so far, last couple of weeks, if a parent wanted to go from e-learning to hybrid, we place them in its classroom. I know parents, I had one request from our parents stated that, you know, you didn't give the parents a choice to go from e-learning back to hybrid after the due date. Well, it depends who they call. We've always told them, if you want to go back into the classroom, the hybrid model, we made rooms for them. A lot of our classrooms still are maintaining safe distance guidelines from the Lorraine County Health Department. So with these students returning back in, we have to check our class size out. We have to make sure we have safe distance, and we're also not going to go back until we receive the second vaccine as well.
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
I'm thinking back to the letter, or one of the letters that you read at the beginning of the meeting, and I'm wondering if you anticipate that there's any change similar to the one where you shifted to a 2-day model after you got the numbers back and saw that only half the students were wanting to return to school and that you could accommodate doing 2 full days. Is there anything like that you anticipate giving families a heads up about that could shift depending upon what kind of information you get in from the surveys?
Yes, one of the things we passed out with a Q&A for the parents stated that our option is option A is for our first plan is option A is we want students back in class 4 days a week, continuously 4 days. But option B would be based upon the numbers. We may have to go to A and B schedule. But right now, the way the numbers are, we're not anticipating going with a B schedule. But when the information we gave to the parents stated that A, B schedule will be our second option based upon the numbers.
Thank you.
Okay. Data on the Virtual Learning Center, that was requested for how the Virtual Learning Center are doing, how some of our interventions are doing as well. On March the 9th, we'll have a study session to go over a lot of the data that we have. And I just wanted to give a little bit of some of the data that we have so far. Without being redundant, do it again on the 9th. The Virtual Learning Center is K-12. We expanded to the K-12. Before it was K-5, and we moved to the middle school, and we also moved to the high school. We have about a 92% attendance daily at the Virtual Learning Center. 95 students, we have about 95 students attending Virtual Learning Center. The data points, iReady we utilize as an assessment too. We have about 80% of our students meeting their 45 minutes in reading and math iReady lab requirements. So 80% of our students that are attending Virtual Learning Center meets the 45 minutes a week. Students are on iReady in grades K through 8 have to do 45 minutes, not on both, but 45 minutes on reading and math and iReady as a reinforcement for the students. So 80% of our students are reaching that goal. And keep in mind too, when the students are in Virtual Learning Center, a lot of them it's not a large percentage of teacher support in that Virtual Learning Center. It's more we have some support staff in there. We have about 95% of our students in Virtual Learning Center completed the first and second iReady diagnostic assessment. With the diagnostic assessment, we have students completed at home, some of the students completed at school. but at least the students at the Virtual Learning Center completed most of the diagnostic, which gave us a lot of great data for the students and for the district as well. The virtual learning students have about 75% lesson passage rate. Lesson passage rate is determined by that 45 minutes they have the iReady labs they have to attend. They're passing 75% of their lessons, the students that are attending there. We want that number up higher, of course. So hopefully with coming back to school, we can increase that number up to 80, 90% for the kids who are passing lessons. And so that's our goal. 100%.
David,
Okay.
Sorry, is there any way to know for the kids, like I know that our original thought with the VLC was we wanted to get this to the kids who didn't have the support systems at home to be able to make good use of e-learning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering if there's any way for this data to show, like for the kids who are in the virtual learning center, like their comparison to what they did previously. You know, I mean, we can see VLC versus total population right now, but if these kids were farther behind before, you know, I feel like we need something to help us truly understand what these numbers are telling us. I mean, other than just what the number is as of today. Does that make sense?
Yes. I guess the virtual learning center extracting that data from last year because it wasn't a pandemic going on. So those kids are kind of mixed into everybody.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of pull them out last year and this year. And we have to understand too, the virtual learning center, I guess the goal was to provide them with some support, but in essence, they didn't have a lot of academic support during that time period while they were there. I guess as far as the lessons, they did iReady online, which we know we monitored for them doing that. And some of the support staff, a lot of support staff was wonderful by helping them as much as they can with the students. As far as small groups and those things, they try to do a lot of small group activities. The real bang for the buck is when the teachers come down and work with the kids during that time period when they're in there. But however, they're in the classroom and it's difficult. They came down to help out a little bit, but you know, they were teaching in the classroom at the same time. Now, the 100% of those students are back into the classroom now. So everyone attending to work for Virtual Learning Center are back in the classroom. It'd be real interesting to monitor their progress now compared to everyone else in those classrooms. Are they behind? Did that help them at all? So to answer your question, Ann, I think once they're back in the classroom, which you are now, it'll be nice to see their data on where they were and compared to everyone else in that classroom of where they are now. And we may be able to pull that data out for them. Last year was kind of a different scenario. We can't group them. Even this year, it's kind of hard to pull them out of the classrooms now, but we can do a subgroup now for them here.
I guess what I'm just trying to get at is I know Jason is always looking for testing the effectiveness of the solutions that we put in place. Mm-hmm. So if whatever kind of analysis we can provide that's going to help us see, you know, did this plan work? Do we need to know that a VLC is a critical thing, but it really is only going to work if we can get a teacher there, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think that mm-hmm. I like having data about what we're doing, but it needs to be in context. And I worry that we might be getting some of the kids who are really struggling anyway in this crew. And so we wouldn't want to compare them to the rest of the population that might have had other resources that were helping them succeed and might have been slamming it on all the iReady tests beforehand. Mm-hmm. You know, I worry when we just look at a data point, you can't actually draw any conclusions from it. So anything you can do to help, like, kind of breathe life into this.
Well, in March, what we should be able to see their growth in March from the students from the first assessment to the second assessment. And we'll be able to see the kids in the virtual learning center grow from the first assessment to the second assessment to see actually how much growth do they have because they attended the virtual learning center. And we'll be able to compare that from the first one to the second. So that may give us a comparison idea of, okay, we know these kids have went one grade level up or something like that too, but that may help as well to see how much they have grown. It'd be interesting to see too as well, the kids in the virtual learning center compared to the kids. And it's kind of hard to get the data because the kids e-learning, did they complete lessons and past lessons? And compared to the kids that were on site, did they complete in past lessons compared to virtual learning center kids that completed past lessons? So I'm really interested to see, this is just scratching the surface. I'm really interested to see compared to passing lessons of kids in virtual learning center compared to the kids that were e-learning or the kids that were also in the classroom. So more data will be coming, I guess. You're right. And this right here is just some of the data that we've been looking at.
And real quick, kind of, piggybacking off of what Ann was saying, and I know you plan to go in more in depth at the next board meeting. So from the second semester, after the end of the first semester, you put a bunch of supports in place to address the various K-12 needs. So from Eastwood, Prospect, Langston, and the high school, there were, they presented their own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So what I believe Ann is saying, and I know what I would like to see, is how effective were those supports? One, like, maybe just briefly go over, this was an issue the first semester. This is what we implemented, the second semester, and this is how it played out the beginning of the third semester or quarter. And so just, more than just attendance, that's great, but have, engagement, has engagement improved, has, grades improved, the iReady, those additional, what was it? I think I saw something about 45 minutes for iReady. How has that improved the students, iReady scores for the math and reading? So is that what you're gonna present at the next meeting as far as that type of data?
Yeah, more of a comparative piece of how was the first iReady assessment compared to the second iReady assessment of, and some of it will be, we had these interventions in place, but some of the growth that we've had from first, and also address some of the learning loss pieces. Next meeting will also go into the breakdown of economically disadvantaged too as well, and how our students from first assessment to second assessment achieving in reading and math from economically disadvantaged students as well. So next meeting, I'll be able to break the data down even a little more from first assessment to second assessment for iReady. And it also breaks it down I'll be able to break it down by school. These are some of the interventions that we have done and that have helped to improve those pieces. And I'll go over some of the interventions, some more of the data from the interventions that we've had. Like for NIE tutoring, we had 10 students attending NIE tutoring, National Honor Society kids for tutoring, OHS home visits. We know we conducted 50 OHS home visits to parents trying to get them to get their kids back in this online or get them back into school. So home visits is where we've had teachers go to the houses and encourage people to come back to school to say, hey, you need to log on. Sometimes successful, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they'll tell us to log on tomorrow and we don't see them for 3 weeks. But we've been trying to initiate home visits, incentive programs. Court referrals, weekly attendance meetings have gone up. We have been doing a lot more court referrals from 15 from last year to about 40 referrals now. So if kids are not,
I'm sorry, what does that mean when you say court referrals?
Kids who are not attending online are considered truant and not coming to school. So normally we have kids who are coming to school will get a court referral, and you go through a process of it where you go to a meeting, then there's a long process of interventions, then we do a court referral on you. So right now the high school is looking at about 40 court referrals been in the system now for kids who are not been going and logging in, been attending. So, and we've noticed for our parents, if you're not online, you're absent from school. So we initiate a court referral. Not first, we don't initiate a court referral. We call home, we do interventions, we had meetings, everything else prior to that. But we've noticed a lot of our court referrals have went up from that.
When you say last year, do you mean the spring or do you mean last calendar year?
Last year, this time period in spring.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this is spring or winter, but yeah. It was still in winter. So I wish spring. Hopefully it is. But yeah, it's just 15 from last year, this time to 40. So we have been trying to do interventions with them, but a lot of them aren't logging on.
So, for example, one of the things that I, on the March 9th, like, yeah, have that, but I know you said home visits, so what else? And I know you said something about some incentive program. So this incentive program, has increased attendance at the high school, whatever percent, or, by home visits, by doing home visits, this has increased attendance by whatever percent, or it hasn't, so that's when I, and reference to, me always talking about, the data and like evaluating the effectiveness of what we're doing, that's an example of what I'm talking about. So it's like, how effective is it? If it's not effective, then let's, figure out something else. If it is effective, how can we ramp it up and scale it? So that's what, like an example of, the type of, information that I would like to see at the next board meeting is how effective are we? Like, this is the reality. And this is something, again, I know DeWine, there was an article recently about DeWine talking about learning loss, and then, some, different articles nationally that, spoke on everything that's going on, students not showing up for class, the learning loss and everything else. Everybody is dealing with it, it's just, so this is a reality for all school districts. And how are we handling it? Is what we're doing, is it working? If it is, how can we step it up? How can the board support that? If it's not working, then maybe we shouldn't do it, or maybe, make some tweaks, so just being able to evaluate the effectiveness of what we're doing.
I agree. We'll have to, go ahead.
Can I just add one last comment to what Jason just said? The other thing that could be helpful for us is understanding that court referral line, I think probably has most of us kind of gulping here. But that 40 referrals, were those mostly kids who are online, or are these kids who are supposed to be in school learning? So, is this a problem because of online learning?
Yeah.
Or, so being able to segment that, I think, would be helpful for us to actually understand how big the problem is and what specifically the problem is. And then, as Jason said, are the incentives, the interventions that we've put in place actually making a difference?
Mm-hmm.
I guess a layer that I would like to add to that on the 40 court referrals is that a third layer? So we're doing home visits, we're doing interventions on like a step 1, step 2, and is step 3 a court referral? And so then I have the same question: what is the rate of improvement based on court referral? So is it actually creating maybe a bad attitude about coming to go to that third step, or is it helping to get the attention that's needed if step 1 and 2 don't work?
And some of that is for some of the parents that are, some students have never received received a phone call from any administrator whatsoever. So, and I think that's, they receive that kind of differently, as opposed to other students may, frequently getting calls. So some of the students, they automatically, okay, fine, I'm going to get online. I'm going to start doing my work and it impacts them a little differently. But you're right. And I can go into the core referral thing our study session too as well. And I think Mrs. Zameka probably know too as well. It's a lengthy process where you have to do attendance meetings, you have to have a social worker there, you have to do all these interventions prior to those pieces of the court referral happening. And even the courts will ask you, did you do all these interventions prior to, before they even do anything? So then they have been helpful to a degree, but our attendance is not that bad. It's just the kids are just, when they do log on sometimes too, is they're just not turning their screens on, or they're not interactive when they're logging on. And I'll present a lot of that data too next time when we go as well. Boys and Girls Club providing support in classrooms, elementary. We have more incentives.
I'd just like to jump in and thank Kim for the question. I too have real concerns. Boy, I totally understand not wanting to give up on the kids, the students. That's super important. But my initial reaction to court referrals is, it's a lot of work. It put a lot of work on the parents and guardians, I imagine, showing up to those things. And then if they don't show up, then that gets them further into legal stuff. I'm just concerned. But, I trust you, I respect you, and I'm sure you thought about these things.
Yes, that's where the home visits come online. And think of the referral piece too as interventions for the parent, because during those meetings, you're looking at, well, what do you need an alarm clock? Do you have a job? You work is Walmart or one of the jobs are making you work late at night till 10, 11 o'clock at night. Those are interventions. So even a core referral piece, even when they do go to court, I believe they always ask them about what's going on, what's happening, and things like that too. So before they get to that core referral piece, there's a lot of interventions that in place before that. And even after that, the court will provide other interventions for you too at the same time. So it's not a system where you go to court and you hit hard when you go to court and you got 50 days in jail and things like that. Usually the magistrate will just tell them, hey, you better, go to school, you can come back here, and they'll provide some kind of guidance for them too at the same time. The goal is always to provide them with enough support for them to start coming to school. And like I said, when kids were on site, we had less referrals going through. Kids were there. They didn't have opportunity it's easy now to turn off the Zoom or to blink the screen out and go back to bed. So those are some things that happens and we have to face with the Zoom world. Okay. Some of the incentive programs we have done, and I usually call the parents and give out pieces to randomly select 2 students from each school and send Domino's pizza to their houses as well. So that's been pretty effective. And that's randomly selected and thanking them for their attendance. So it's not just the students that are not attending, but we also try to reward the students that have been attending and going online as well. Okay. It's a work in progress. And even though with the plan from the extended hybrid piece, we're still working with the teachers union, working with our OC union to make these things work as well.
David, have you been having difficulty? Has there been pushback from the employees? Are we having problems finding subs? I know that this has been a regional, it's been a national problem, but are we facing any kind of difficulty getting adequate staff levels to put teachers in the rooms?
I think we had a couple incidences this year where I guess it was unforeseen incidences where maybe 2 people had to go out all of a sudden during the day or something like that, where we didn't have coverage for the piece. But for the most part, I think we've been getting fair coverage with our staff. We've hired additional building subs to cover classrooms. We're anticipating by going back to on site that hopefully these additional building subs will help out. But we have been trying to face those issues when they come across, but I don't think we've had the concern like some other districts have had with 4 or 5 classrooms not being covered. We've had maybe periods being covered and trying to do those pieces throughout the day.
I know that we had to pass that resolution last month based on the governor's action that made it so that we could put somebody who did not have a teaching certificate in a classroom. I guess if we have that happen, I would like to be aware that that has happened.
And we haven't done that yet. We have not come to that piece yet. Our subservices person had developed, even before they go in a classroom, as suggested by the board, there's a series of things they have to do. If that option happens, it's a series of things they have to go through with policies, observing class. There's a lengthy process before that even happens. So if that was to happen, it'd probably take about a week or two, or about 2 weeks for the person to even go in a regular classroom. Well, we have not needed to utilize that. But I'll let your board know if how many times that have happened. Any questions regarding the extended hybrid model? We'll update the community as we get information. We're going to try to follow the timeline as much as possible. But the COVID vaccination, of course, our teachers are getting the first vaccination on Friday. And the second one should occur on March 26th. And we're working with makeup days, so on and so forth. According to the health department, the weather has not delayed anything at this time, best of their knowledge. And we're still scheduled for February the 26th to receive a vaccine at JVS.
I do have one more question. I'm wondering if there's any other survey of families coming up soon. I know that you're gathering information, but is there anything else that you'll be doing?
Yes, there'll be a couple series of surveys going out about as far as the most social emotional surveys, not just for the families as well, the students and also the staff as well, to find out how everybody's holding up, some planning to future planning that we may need, and also supports that we can provide for them, because I am worried about the social emotional piece as well, to see how everybody's holding up with it.
I'm wondering if in one of those surveys you could add a question about recommendations for if people are feeling like communication isn't adequate, if they could maybe make a suggestion about it, because my sense is that with COVID, there's been lots of surveying, lots of seeking of opinion. So I think some of it would be us hearing what it is that people feel like is missing. So it's not just guessing about what people think would work.
Okay. No problem. I'm not sure if the board's where either. We have actually a newsletter goes out every 2 weeks. And we also currently now working on the old town saver that we used to give out. We're going to bring that back for the district, and that should Melissa's working on that to go out in April. And she's also been able to take up and update the blog and the website and send communication out that way as well. But yes, you're right. I'm always cognizant of more information that needs to go out as well, and what's not getting out there as well. But a lot of times we don't have the information yet. So, and like the health department of vaccine, it's almost, okay, we're not sure when makeup day is going to be. I have no idea. I don't know if it's going to be delayed or not. And I apologize for if it is delayed.
Yeah, and I wasn't raising it as a complaint as much as, at least I feel like communication has ticked up. And so then, we could keep kind of throwing things out there.
Mm-hmm.
If people are feeling, it'd be interesting to know where people are looking for information.
Yep.
If they feel like it's not out there, because my sense is that there's more available now than I've experienced in the past.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Thank you. And we'll work on that as well. Okay. Great idea. Any questions about extended hybrid model, April the 6th, and interventions? We'll have more data on that coming up on a study session for the board and community. Next one, we have Safe Routes to School presentation from Kat Bray. We've been working on a grant with Safe Routes to School, and Kat, I'm going to turn over to you to provide information about the resolution that we're about to approve.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm here. My name's Kat Bray, and I also have Vivian Taylor with me today. We are both health educators at Lorain County Public Health. We also moonlight as a pandemic response team these days. But in a typical scenario, Vivian and I work on chronic disease prevention and health promotion efforts. So taking a look at health equity issues countywide, but really we have an opportunity to focus in on Oberlin. And one of the programs that we've worked with the district on for really the last year plus on has been the Safe Routes to School travel plan update. And I can just briefly share my screen. I don't want to take a ton of your time here. Let's see. It says it's disabled, so.
Steve, can you, I don't know if I can give you, can you do it now?
Yes, here we go. Thank you. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Yes, great. All right, so alas, it's been a collaborative effort among the Lorain County Public Health Department, a steering committee of partners that made up representatives from the schools, City of Oberlin, the Public Works Department, Planning Department, residents, representatives from community groups such as Oberlin Kids or Kindergarten Readiness Group, Kendall at Oberlin, and so on. And so the big deal is that we now have this updated Oberlin Safe Routes to School travel plan, which brings the district back up into having a current plan for not only looking at the physical environment around the schools, and especially with the new school buildings coming, but also looking at programming, policy change, and really the larger system of safety and active living in Oberlin. So the last plan was updated in 2010, and now we do have this draft ready to go. I can go ahead and attach this updated plan in an email to Dr. Hall after this meeting to make sure you all have your own copy. But it does essentially kind of go through what we've been working on the past year. Just a quick overview here on this page 3. And again, I won't go too much into it, but we're really thrilled to be able to have gotten to this point with the district. And we're really looking forward to then applying for funding through the Ohio Department of Transportation through the Safe Routes to School program. And this is just one funding source that we're really looking forward to continuing to seek out over the next 5 years in order to, like I said, not only make physical changes to the community around the schools, but also implement some new programming and opportunities for students to be active, both for as a part of their regular transportation to school, but also looping in health and wellness and physical activity as well. So with that, we are seeking, and I can stop my screen share now. We are seeking the board's support of the school travel plan, as well as the application for grant funding. And I am happy to answer any more in-depth questions. And I'm not sure if you all would like, I guess I'll turn it back over here and let me know if there's any other questions or concerns that I can help answer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the introduction to this. I'm wondering what support from the board looks like.
Sure. So the plan itself generally requires an endorsement. So the process itself has had involvement from Dr. Hall, Mr. Reinhardt, several school staff, parts of the administrative and leadership team. And we've gone through this kind of template process over the last year, which involved surveying, some public meetings to gain insight on what type of programming should be considered, or which type of policies, for example, potentially future arrival and dismissal policies should be considered. So as far as support from the board, there is, and thanks Anne, there is a resolution that kind of outlines that the board is in support of the Safe Routes to School program as a whole, and the opportunity to continue forward and kind of reinvigorating some of the district's efforts around promoting this program. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Kat, and thanks for all the hard work you've done on this as well, and your committee and your team as well, and interaction with the city and the district and all our staff members. We appreciate it.
Thanks. And if it would be helpful, I can speak a little bit briefly to the actual application, which we'll be submitting. Lorraine County Public Health will submit the application and help to facilitate, for example, district-wide and community-wide education. So one of the concerns that we've learned from parents in the community, for example, is maybe those who bike around town and near schools not having proper bike lights at dawn and dusk, or just motorists maybe not being aware of just basic education as to how to drive when there's bicyclists on the road, or just reminding walkers and cyclists too of proper behaviors when out and about in the community. So that is definitely one thing that we'll be seeking funding for, to ramp up promotions and communication. We're looking to do some fun and innovative things with the student body based on some of the administrators' ideas at the last admin team meeting, looking to come up with a Safe Routes to School kind of campaign and tagline, and really just building from here. We have kind of the bones finally in place with the school travel plan, and now with additional funding, we'll continue to program and ramp up this exciting program, which by the way, the Oberlin community has always been really a leader in the county around this type of work.
Yeah, there's one more thing I would like to add regarding what support the board looks like. As I am making the final draft of the grant application this week, we're also looking at ways that either the school district, as well as members of the community or the city of Oberlin, can help sustain the Safe Routes to School program. My assumption was through policy, as I'm seeing that one of the major recommendations that was voted on through the school, as well as the parents and guardians, was incorporating bicycle education into the physical education curriculum, along with hosting an annual walk to school day that helps students and parents and guardians to learn the routes to school. Just want to know people's thoughts on that. It doesn't have to be at the moment. My email address is vtaylor@Lorain County Public Health, which I'll put into the chat. And any suggestions or ways that you think I could word that to help enhance the grant application would gladly be appreciated.
Thank you.
I just want to, is there any of this that will actually also spill over into Oberlin College's campus? When I think about, bicycle safety and any of that, is there a broad enough sweep that other people in the community might be touched?
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely. We've been able to connect with reps from Oberlin College throughout the planning process. So anywhere where we can collaborate with the college it is broad enough to be in the plan. And as we have the right partners at the table, we can continue to move forward in that direction. So I'm not sure at the how your typical resolutions go, but we do have the language here drafted. And if it is it read at this point, and I'm happy to again answer any other questions that might come up as a result of the resolution to support the Oberlin School Travel Plan update, as well as support for the Lorraine County Public Health Department's application for up to $20,000 to implement programming in Oberlin City School District and the community near schools.
Will happen, Cass, later in the agenda items that for the board will vote on and take action on it.
Okay. All right, great. Well then, if there is no other questions for me, I will also put my email address in the chat. That was a great idea, Vivian. And feel free to reach out. I forgot to mention, but all of this really also fits into the health department's overarching work, not only around physical activity and active living and safety, but Live Healthy Oberlin really just focuses broadly on also healthy eating work as well. And again, Oberlin has a school wellness and nutrition committee, which fortunately we're involved in. And again, you all are doing really great work around not only just active living, but health promotion, chronic disease prevention as well. So I'll put my address here for any follow-up. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we'll have TDA would like to give an update and Green Space give update. I have a video to share about February update for the facility. like to turn it over to TDA. I think you're still here, or Brad, if you'd like to make some comments and updates.
Sorry. And Rich, are you still here or not?
Yeah, this is Rich. I don't know if anybody has any questions on what they saw. So basically what you saw was that the gypsum board is complete and being taped on the first floor academic area. The second floor, you saw the metal studs in place, although that was last week. And now the gypsum board has started on the second floor. Also, the exterior veneer windows and all that is complete. The roofing is complete with the exception of final detailing and the coping. Work is proceeding in the mechanical areas. Painting of the block areas in area 2, the student dining, the media center, and the mechanical areas. The painting of the block is complete, and the painting of the block in the stairwells is complete. The next step for painting will be the first floor classrooms once that is ready. That's
Just,
quick review. I don't know if, like I said, if anybody has any questions.
I just had the mechanical yard. In the video, it looks like it's just going to be hanging out there. It will have a screen wall around it once it's finished.
Correct.
And it will also be landscaping. So it will be, that equipment will be concealed.
Right, the foundations for that screen wall are in place. Again, we're just waiting for delivery and weather to put that in place.
And the pink on the windows are just the venting windows that Rich is waiting for those to come in. They're coming in separately.
Correct. The glass above them is in place. It's just that's temporary insulation that Brad was referring to.
I had a question about whether or not the weather that we've had with the snow and everything has impacted your work, and if it's impacted the timeline. If you're still on time to be completed.
No, not at all. The work that was scheduled, that actually, so we got the roofing and the brick veneer and the windows in prior to February and prior to the cold and snow. So that wasn't impacted, and the remaining work right now is on the inside. I think like we spoke last time, last update, we were looking at maybe try to get the site work going ahead of schedule, but the snow came, so it doesn't look like that'll happen. But the site work is scheduled to resume March 19th, and we don't see a problem with that.
I will share that I've been attending the monthly facilities update meetings, and it's fascinating as a board member who doesn't have a lot of construction awareness, but to listen to them go through in about 100 times more detail than we just heard about what's happening with the different projects that are underway. And listening to Dan DiNicola, like, who I thought the world of him before, but he is stepping up to represent us in the best possible way. So I'm really impressed with Green Space and TDA. I think that we're putting together a really good quality product to serve this community for years to come. And Dan is holding their feet to the fire and everybody's working really hard. And you see, as these videos have been showing, wonderful progress. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the solar array myself, but.
Thank you. We're all working together to make this happen.
We appreciate you guys, and also the timeline. We know it was a kind of a tight timeline, but been rising to the occasion by getting us in the building by August, and that's been great. I don't know if we also have JVS touring the facility tomorrow, which thank you for your cooperation for that too as well. We probably have 45 or so JVS students will be coming on site tomorrow to tour the trades. I'm not sure if Rich, you want to mention anything about that or not?
Yes, so we're starting at 9:30 with the students. We have 2 groups of 9 students plus their teacher. One group will be the electrical, one will be HVAC. And then at 11 o'clock, we have the same thing, only, I'm sorry, we just have a group of electrical, no HVAC. And then at 12:30, we have a group of electrical and a group of HVAC. So we have we have the area that we're going to look through. We have we're going to enter through the main entrance. The buses will be in the high school parking lot. We'll come in the main entrance and we'll go down the second floor and into the first floor. And depending on whether electrical or HVAC, we'll either, concentrate on the respective trades. And we have representatives from the contractors, from the specific contractors that'll be with us also so that they can talk to the kids and the teachers. And I've worked up a little information sheet to give to everybody tomorrow. And I understand that we have a group from the district that'll be there at 9:30 also. So we're,
I'm going to be there, and I think there's going to be media representatives there as well. So I did announce that to the JVS board at our meeting last week. And I can tell you that board was really happy with the fact that we're able to show kids who are going into these careers some of the really neat things that are going into this building. That, we've heard Brad talk about the filtration systems and just the electrical system. This is practical application of these concepts that these kids are going to get to see. So I really appreciate that we've made this into a learning opportunity for the kids at JVS.
yeah, it's really exciting to see to have the kids walk through. That's always enjoyable for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Rich. Thanks, CDA. Thanks for all your you guys' help and support. See you tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
And that
Okay,
concludes my report.
okay, action items, board items. Do I have a motion to approve board items A and B?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
The first item is the minutes from last meeting, which was sent out to everybody. The second item is to give us authorization to resell notes to pay off the notes that we issued last year. These are 1-year notes, and we're allowed to do this up to 5 times. And then after the 5th year, we have the option of selling bonds or paying them off. Any questions on that?
Call the roll.
I'm sorry, I was muted. So no further discussion, and then call the roll.
Ms. Sameka,
Yes.
Ms. Sham,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Stanley,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. Okay, treasurer's items. Do I have a motion to approve treasurer's items A and B?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, for the treasurer's report, we finished the month of January with $9 million, $22,291, which is down just a little under 100,000 from December. We are paying off with the construction project still about 1.1 million down. The last payment was a little bit less. It was about 680,000 on a monthly basis. Like they said, they seem to be on schedule. Dan is researching all the bills to make sure everything, all the I's and T's are crossed. So I do appreciate his help. The district has made 136,000 on interest so far this school year, starting from July through January. The general fund expenses are up about $100,000, and that is because those computers that we ordered last April finally came in. So we do have all the computers that we ordered in April and also the ones that we ordered in August have come in now. So, and they are paid for.
On that one, Bob,
Yes.
and maybe Steve, I don't know. I know that we placed those orders because we anticipated having kids need technology in order to be able to do classes remotely. And, we use technology in classrooms now in general. So the fact that these were delayed so long, has that inhibited our ability to get equipment to kids? Are we now using those to replace maybe obsolete or?
Yes, we have rolled some of those out. We were scheduled to replace the teachers' units. So that was the first order, was replacing all the teachers' units. So we haven't done that yet. And that will probably be what Steve is working on. I'm not sure how he plans on rolling that out. And also with kids coming back, we're looking at setting back up some of the carts, the computer carts that have been dismantled. So.
If education weight is now, I'm not sure if we ever will go back to the way we were before anyway. So we definitely needed computers.
Yes.
Thank you.
And other than that, that's really all I have. I have been looking at the two proposals. There's the governor's budget. They did reintroduce the CUP Peterson fair share funding. That is House Bill 1, and I forget what Senate bill it is, but they have been reintroduced. So we will watch that stream, how it goes through. And hopefully we'll have a budget before June 30th. So we know how we're going to be funded next year, if we're going to be funded off of the scale or with a new scale being developed. So.
Dr. Hall, you talked about, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but talked about never going back to the way we were. Are you suggesting that we're probably going to continue to have a sort of basically a one-to-one laptop program where every student has a laptop? Is that what you were suggesting, or what?
I believe we should be close to there now. As far as taking it home, go back and forth, we have to work out some linguistics of that piece. But I definitely think that we'll be on the Zoom technology, kids being able to come in the classroom. Some of the programs they're using now will enhance instruction that we've learned. I'm sure all our educational staff will utilize in some of those programs, whether it's computer lab, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's lessons. Maybe there'll be a day of take your computer home for the weekend or something like that. But I can't imagine instruction going back to all the technology and the PD that we put into it. And teachers, they've been great at moving everything forward.
Thanks.
We also had a donation from G&L Newman Fund for $1,000 that went into the general fund. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Anybody else?
Kim,
Okay.
did you have a question? I have a question, but Kim?
Mine was not a question. I can say it anytime. You should go ahead.
Okay, so my question is from the All Fund report. I know you're going to be shocked, but I'm going to ask you about lunchroom. So our unencumbered balance as of January 30th was negative $187,000 compared to negative 118 last year.
Yes.
So
the unencumbrance is higher than last year. The unencumbrance was only 78,000. So it is up $50,000. That's just stuff that we do have encumbered. I also made an adjustment entry with the ESERS money today that took about $28,000 of payroll that we had budgeted out of the ESERS money to keep on paying the lunchroom staff. So next month's numbers will look a lot better.
okay, are we seeing with the hybrid kids coming in and eating, are we seeing any improvements?
Yes, counts are going up.
Okay. And how are we doing on the paperwork?
The paperwork is we talked about that at our administration meeting. Once kids come back to really do a big push in April, to get all these forms filled out. So we have engaged the teachers in coming up with ideas. We've talked about doing some type of class celebration to get to 100%. So we're looking at different ideas to get that. Because, right, it's just not, since they don't need the form to get a free lunch, but we do need the form to complete the Title I process so that we don't lose our Title I funds. And that's what we're
For those of you,
stressing.
for those of you listening back home, what they're talking about here is Oberlin City Schools doesn't require people to fill out the form to show that they qualify for free reduced school lunches. Some schools do. If the parent doesn't fill it out, the kids don't get fed. We're not going to do that, but we need to get those forms filled out in order to get reimbursed. So,
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Ms. Mecca,
Yes.
Ms. Sham,
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. Yes.
Ms. Jackson Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Stanley,
yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. Okay, superintendent's consent items. Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's items A through E4?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, superintendent items. Item A, approve a professional service contract with Educational Service Center. Temporary, item A is a temporary operations manager position. The district will absorb the position internally for the 21-22 school year due to reorganization. So that position is only until the end of the school year, and next year we'll reorganize within our administrative staff to fill it. Item B is approved a 2-year service agreement with facility agreement with the city. That's a shared service agreement where we work together in collaboration with the city. Item C is recruiting and hiring software that we will purchase. This will allow us to increase applicants, increase the number of applicants we get in for positions across Ohio and also other states as well. It's called Apple Track. So we'll start utilizing that as soon as possible, and the training will start immediately. So when we have an applicant, we should be able to have at least thousands or so different applicants coming in for that position. Item D was approval of the resolution to endorse Lorraine Public Health, and that's what we just had a presentation on, safe routes to school resolution for the grant. Item E is personnel report. Additional substitute teachers, substitute custodians, permanent building subs on the agenda to hire in. Also leave of absence, resignations as well, and a couple of coaches for baseball and volleyball. Request approval item A to E4.
David, can you talk a little bit more about item B, the agreement with the city? Like, how does this differ from agreements that we have already had? You know, the fact that they do biddy basketball and we use the baseball fields periodically. You know, we've been working with the city, but so how is this different? And is this because of Eastwood and Prospect being empty?
No, this is just, we've always had a service agreement with the city, the shared service agreement. This is re-upping that shared service agreement after we looked at it again, reviewed it. The board should actually, and we may haven't approved it in a while, but it's just been a more of a understanding between the two for the last couple of years. So we just started back up with the shared service pieces. This allows us to, for example, like bleachers. I know the city utilized our bleachers here at one time, the outside. They moved them to the park, and that allowed each one of us to say, hey, we can utilize equipment if needed between the two. lining fields. We may say, hey, you know what, we need somebody to come over and help line our fields for us. So they'll have somebody come over and help line our fields. They need to borrow equipment for a forklift, for example. They can utilize our forklift, and we utilize their equipment as well. So it's more of a continuation of its previous, before I even arrived here, service agreement with the city.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll be able to expand it more, I'm hoping. So if they're listening, I'd love to expand maybe some snow removal and different other opportunities that we can work with the city on.
Well, that's why I was thinking about that with the safe routes to school, because I was thinking about, one of the biggest problems that we face with safe routes to school is the fact that people don't shovel.
Mhm.
And so you end up with kids walking and riding their bikes in the street because the sidewalks aren't shoveled.
Mm-hmm.
And so, could there be some kind of solution? But then I actually had another question. This temporary operations position.
Yes.
I know that you had a whole hiring team that looked at the candidates, and this is one that we did through the ESC, right? Because this was not an internal position, but we still went through a process.
Yes, went through interview process. We had members from the city, a board member on there as well, teachers, administrators, and went through a whole hiring process for that temporary position for the next 3 to 4 months for the district.
Okay. I just want to kind of publicly state for the record, I would still like to see us advertise what our process is, because I think transparency is critical. Just to make sure that people know that, there's not just the man behind the curtain pulling the levers that make things magically happen in the district, but that, we have input from a variety of people, that we are like this. Now I can't remember the play on the word applicant, that software, Applatrack or whatever it was. Yeah. That we are, taking specific efforts to try to intentionally recruit a diverse audience to our openings, and that we're reviewing them in a transparent manner, and that the interviews are happening by a diverse group of representatives of the community and district. I think it's really important that we are 100% transparent in the process that we use when we're introducing positions that are going to be funded by the district.
One of the things we were able to do was, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't have, we had a board member on there just to actually go through the process. So that kind of helped out. Posting for it's actually a month process with posting for 2 weeks, setting up interviews, and with Zoom, we actually had the interview questions done via Google Forms, sending those in with a number rubric system, counting up the number of points each candidate had. Then selecting based upon a point system. We involved a parent and a community member. And with this position in particular, we're very fortunate to have somebody from the city represented the operations department that had expertise in that area. Danny Nicola was on there as well. He has expertise way vast, as we've known throughout its operations. He has vast expertise in that area. So he had insight as well. So we had a wide variety of different teachers as well on there too as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Call the roll.
Ms. Emeka,
Yes.
Ms. Sham,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Stanley,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. Comments, discussions, any board updates?
I've already mentioned the 2 updates that I had about JVS students coming and the facilities update. So nothing more.
Okay, no one else. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
I think my random statement I can offer here. This meeting, maybe I've been, coming enough now to sort of get the rhythm, but it strikes me that the things that were talked about throughout the strategic planning process, like as I sat through this meeting, I really felt like I can see those things beginning to gel. The collaboration with partners in the community, um, having some guests at the meeting, even though they were presenting, having the letters that were read, and kind of the give and take in conversation, and the increase, at least from my perspective, in surveying families. So I guess I just want to say that I feel like I see the district taking steps toward, in a more than passing way, trying to live out the things that people in the community said they wanted to see. It's a process. I think there's a way to go, but I just want to acknowledge that I feel like I see movement.
And I did have an update. We're going through our different committees that we're on, correct?
Yes.
Today we had a Neola meeting that the Dr. Hall and Kim and Bob and I attended. I was a little late, so I didn't catch the first about half hour of it, but there are several different policies that will be coming through to be updated. And it was a lot of information. I don't have a whole lot of the details, but there's a lot of change in wording, specifically as it relates to references for different gender identity and many, many other things. That's one of the things that kind of stuck with me. Kim, I don't know if you remember any other details, but I did want to report that we had that meeting this morning, and it was pretty informative, and it's a lot of information. Maybe not as much as last time, but it was a lot.
It felt like a lot to me. It was the first time, and so I feel like I was trying to get my landlets or whatever, but it actually made me feel better as a community member and not just a board member, to know that there is sort of a fine-tooth comb process, that there's somebody who's keeping up with changes at the state level and making sure that we are staying up to speed on what's going on. So maybe more than the details for me was just the reassurance that we actually are paying attention, and that happens multiple times a year, not just at the two that are scheduled, but when there are important things coming up, that we make the changes right away.
I served on the policy committee early on in my tenure on the board, and there are a couple things that help make it more manageable, like knowing that, okay, you might get 160 pages of edits that you're having to go through, but sometimes there's a version for the teaching staff, for the OPSI staff, for the administrators, for the students. So you might have 4 policies that are all changing, as Farah said, the pronouns to something, so there could be changes like that each policy does have to be updated, and we have to approve each one individually. So sometimes you can do that. The other thing that I think helped me the most is using their, Neola is really good about pointing out to us the things that are really important to pay attention to. But then they give you the marked up version, so you can see what was struck and what was added, so that you can take in the whole policy and the whole point, but then focus in on what the key changes are.
This may be a benefit of Zoom. I couldn't have imagined sitting with 160 pages, but he was able to switch between, our document and their templates, and cut and paste. And so it didn't seem as daunting as it might have been to get like the whole stack.
Okay, any other updates? No. Hearing other, excuse me. Hearing of the public on other items.
Yes, we have one, Roger Hinckley made a voice of concern. He voiced two concerns. One of them was dealing with personnel issues, which we're not able to go into at this time due to legal concerns. But the other concern was related to facilities upkeep. I would like the board to address these issues. I would like the school district to show us citizens who are asked to build new schools, accept COVID plans in exchange constantly without warning, to watch year after year schools fall apart because the district knowingly and willingly do not want to spend money to repair them because one day we would have a new school. Just to let the community know too, I do respect Mr. Hinckley's big concern as well. The district has made, since I've been here, we've been repairing all the buildings from new roofs to boiler maintenance to actually during the COVID-19, keeping staff on board to do well-needed repairs within a district. We took this as an opportunity to start repairing some of the areas that would need it. And we're moving forward in that direction by developing new systems as well. So we're not letting our buildings fall apart. We're actually still repairing it because we know we still have to be in them, especially Langston as well. So since I've been here, we've constantly tried to keep up with the maintenance of our buildings.
I know that this has come up, that same complaint has been voiced multiple times in the community. And I know that we've probably had dozens of conversations in public session and board meetings, but unless you're bored on a Tuesday night, you might not be aware of that, tuning in for what's happening in the Oberlin School Board. But yeah, the board has made a concerted commitment to ensuring that we weren't letting the buildings, we were doing all of the required maintenance because we wanted to keep these buildings up. And then the other clarification I would just offer is on the initial concern. David's right. It's legally, we are not allowed to talk in public about personnel issues in public session. So, if you hear things that are being talked about in the media or in public or whatever, these things probably are being discussed in executive session, or that the administration's dealing with these things, but we're not allowed to talk about individual personnel issues in public.
That includes my concerns.
Okay. Future meetings, March 9th. We have a special session, a year in review. And then March 30th, regular meeting.
I
have a motion to.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think I missed my schedule when I was supposed to talk about the Endowment Board. The Endowment Board did meet, and we postponed. Usually the teachers put in their grant applications early in the spring, but we felt that with so much uncertainty that it made sense to delay that as much as possible. So I forget the exact detail. Brittany has sent it out to the teachers so they know, but it's pushed out to middle to late May, so that we hopefully have a little bit better picture of what school is going to be like in the fall. Will we be back 100%, in session? Will there still be some hybrid? Anyway, that's all the update from the Endowment Board. And it'll be in it. There's a fair amount of money in there. So I hope that, that teachers will, and others, if you, go through a teacher, if you have ideas, because a lot of grants just didn't get spent, and a lot of those we just roll over. So programs that weren't able to be done as a result of COVID, they're still funded, and they'll be able to happen, once we get back in school. But, field trips, there are a lot of field trips that just couldn't happen. And so they'll just automatically happen in, 2021, 2020, 2022. But that means that we still, those won't have to be refunded. So there will be, anyway, the upshot is, I'm not explaining it very well, but there's some money out there, and we hope that people will look for creative uses for it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to move to executive session to discuss compensation of a public employee with action to follow?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, call the roll.
Ms. Ameca,
Yes.
Ms. Shum,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Stanley,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody has the link.
Yeah, just know that it's on your calendar and it says no title.
No title. Yes. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Actually, okay. I just looked at it and I didn't see a link there, but I'll double check it.
I think Bob emailed it to us.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, yep, I see it. All right, see you guys in a little bit.
Right on.
Have you been sitting here waiting for us, Steve?
Oh, yeah. I had a couple things to take care of while I was doing that.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, so is everybody here? Miss, oh, Kim,
Kim?
okay. Technically, we have a quorum.
Well, we could have a motion to come out of executive session because we'll have to do it separate now. So I
Yes.
make a motion to come out of executive session at 9:20.
Second.
All right, so, do I have a motion to return to regular session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, call the roll.
Miss Ameka,
Yes.
Miss Sham,
Yes.
Miss Jackson Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Stanley,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. Okay, action items, board item. Do I have a motion to approve the following board item A?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Miss Ameka,
Yes.
Miss Sham,
Yes.
Miss Jackson Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Stanley,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Call the roll. Call it.
Miss Ameka,
Yes.
Miss Sham,
Yes.
Miss Jackson Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Stanley,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes, yes, yes.
Guys, this isn't even long. I've been in a board meeting till 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
More
Yeah.
power
Something
to
to look
you.
forward
No,
to.
no, we're not doing that.
I never wish to
Over,
experience that.
over a basketball coach.
Oh, wow.
No.
150 people showed up.
See, that's where you get to like say how long you're going to be. This is board and officer training. They tell you how to deal with that.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.